Mama Coco returned from the shop the next day. Ada was a bit relieved to see her. She had been weighed down by her thoughts since morning, wondering why Mama Coco hadn't come back yet. She hadn't touched the food Mama Coco prepared for them earlier. She only fed carrots. Mama Coco handed Ada a bag. When Ada opened it, she saw some gently used baby clothes, as well as essentials for her delivery. Overcome with emotion, Ada knelt down, burst into tears, and thanked Mama Coco. 3 weeks later, Ada went into labor at night. Before Mama Coco could call the auxiliary nurse in the neighborhood, Ada had already given birth on her own. Mama Coco and the nurse arrived to find the baby covered in blood. The nurse helped clean both the newborn and Ada, checking her over and assuring Mama Coco that she was fine. They planned to visit a nearby clinic the next morning for a proper checkup. Ada had given birth to a boy, and she named him Yada, which means, I raised my hands in worship and praise to God. Mama Coco wasn't financially well off. She had exhausted most of her resources due to Ada's childcare and feeding. Her business no longer provided enough to support them all. When Yada turned 8 weeks old, Mama Coco advised Ada to start a small hawking business. She suggested Ada take Yada and carrots to her shop so that Ada could focus on her business. Mama Coco promised to help by providing cold drinks, bottled water, and sausages on credit, allowing Ada to pay her back after each day's sales. They agreed that Ada would hawk her goods within the garage and on the nearby street, close to Mama Coco's shop, so she could easily return to feed Yada at intervals. Ada was excited to help Mama Coco with the financial responsibilities at home. She knew Mama Coco had done so much for them. A few days later, Ada started her hawking business. Mama Coco took care of Yada and carrots at her shop while Ada worked. Ada worked hard, and within a few months, she was able to save a little money and buy food supplies for their home. Mama Coco was relieved of much of the financial burden, and they both lived happily. Soon, Carrie started attending a nursery school. Although the school's infrastructure was lacking, the teachers did their best to help the children learn. Ada was proud of her achievements. For the first time in a long time, she could provide for her family. She prayed to God, asking for Mama Coco's son to return safely, so that Mama Coco could find happiness again. As Ada focused on her business, she began saving to rent a shop and start a food selling business on the garage. She was determined to start on her own feet and succeed. Slowly, she stopped dwelling on the past and regretting her decision to comply with her husband's demand to sleep with his boss. Several months later, Ada was hawking on a street a few blocks away from the garage when a man rolled down his car window and called out for cold water. The traffic was heavy and it was a hot day, so many people were thirsty. As Ada approached the car, she was shocked to see that it was Mr. Ainde, her ex-husband's boss. She tried to walk away, but Mr. Ainde quickly got out of the car and pulled her back. He knelt on the road, disregarding the people watching, and begged for her forgiveness. He told Ada how deeply he regretted his actions, how he had suffered for his sins, and how he had been searching for her. He explained that her husband had fled with millions of naira while Mr. Ainde was out of the country. He said Femi had sold his house and disappeared, and that Mr. Ainde had gone to Ada's father to confess everything. But no one knew where Ada was. Unable to control her emotions, Ada burst into tears and walked away from Mr. Ainde without saying a word. She ran as fast as she could. When she reached Mama Coco's shop later that evening, she explained everything to her. Mama Coco comforted her, urging her to stop crying and move on. The following afternoon, a man came to Mama Coco's shop. He introduced himself and repeated everything he had told Ada. He asked Mama Coco to help him plead with Ada for forgiveness. Mr. Ayinde explained that he had lost his 4 children in a house fire. His wife died of a heart attack from the trauma, and he had been sick, requiring treatment abroad. He said he had given his life to Christ but still felt empty and unsettled. He was desperate to reach out to Ada and ask for her forgiveness. When Ada visited Mama Coco's shop later, she saw Mr. Ayinde again. She tried to walk away as she had before, but Mama Coco called her back. Mama Coco spoke to her and pleaded with her to forgive. Mr. Ayinde knelt, weeping. Ada, though still bitter, said she had heard him, but she left Mama Coco's shop without saying much. That night, Mama Coco called Ada and spoke to her like a mother. She urged Ada to forgive so that she could be free from the chains of bitterness. Ada prayed, asking God to help her forgive and move on. One day, as Mr. Ayinde continued to visit Mama Coco's shop, he met Ada there. This time, she didn't walk away. She embraced him and forgave him. She prayed for him, and for the first time in a long time, Mr. Ayinde felt peace in his heart. He thanked Ada and promised to check up on her and her children regularly. He also promised to help Ada by establishing her business. Mr. Ayinde was overjoyed to meet Yada and learned that Ada had given birth to his child. The following week, Mr. Ayinde kept his promise and returned, this time with Ada's family, her father, Mr. Amos, and her mother. Mr. Amos apologized to Ada, saying, "I'm sorry I didn't believe you. I let my pride and ego control me. I know I failed you. I couldn't defend you or stand by you." Ada's mother wept as she also begged for forgiveness. Ada forgave them and they embraced. They all thanked Mama Coco for taking care of Ada and her children. Ada's parents were overjoyed to meet their grandchildren, and Caris was delighted to be around her grandparents as well. It was a moment of great joy, and tears of happiness flowed.